Hello, I am Ms. Suchitra Pareekh, Principal of Ramnivas Bajaj English High School. Today, standing in front of you to teach you a topic in biology from Standard 9 ICSE portion, the flower. The flower, as we have studied earlier in the 8th standard, we know about the 4 whorls, etc. Let us study a complete flower, a bisexual flower, in little more detail. Just to help you review some words, calyx makes up the outermost whorl, made up of sepals. Corolla makes up the next whorl, made up of petals. Androecium is the third whorl going inside. It is made up of stamens, and each stamen is further made up of thread-like filament and anther, which may be often bilobed. The innermost whorl, called gynoecium, is also called carpels, made up of carpels, and carpel in turn is made up of an ovary, a style, and a stigma. The structure of a bisexual flower in detail now. All these whorls that we have understood the name of, let us see them part by part. The outermost whorl of sepals. Most flowers are having 5 sepals. They are usually green in color. They are found at the base of the flower. The petals are the colorful part of the flower by which we generally recognize a flower, and again, if a 5 sepals, a flower may also have 5 petals. They are colorful, bright, attractive for insects, and they make up the second whorl called corolla. Anther and filament make up stamen, and stamens make up the third whorl of androecium. Anther is the most important part of the stamen where the pollen grains are produced. It is found on the tip of the filament. Filament, as the name suggests, is long, thin, thread-like structure. So, anther and filament make up androecium. The innermost whorl is the most important whorl of the flower, the female whorl of the flower, consisting of ovary at the base. You will see right at the base a globular structure in the center, that is called the ovary. Inside the ovary are the ovules. There are about 6 to 8 ovules shown whenever you draw a diagram of that kind. There are many ovules in it. Above this globular structure is a long thread-like structure again, which is comparatively more firm than the filament is, and that is called the style. On top of the style is the stigma, which is a little sticky part of the flower. On the stigma, the pollen grain settles and the fertilization, pollination and fertilization occurs. These 4 parts, ovary, style, stigma, along with the ovules inside the ovary, make up what is called as carpel, the 4th whorl of the flower, innermost whorl, gynoecium. That is the bisexual flower. A bisexual flower having calyx and corolla is called a complete flower. It is not necessary that a flower is a bisexual, it will definitely be complete. A complete flower is defined as a flower having all the 4 whorls, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium present in it. It is also called, therefore, a perfect flower. An incomplete flower is one in which one of the whorl may be missing. It could be calyx missing, it could be corolla missing, it could be androecium missing, or a gynoecium missing. Any one whorl missing is called incomplete flower. Another word for it is imperfect flower. Let us understand the 2 categories of these 4 whorls. The 4 whorls, calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium, are divided again into 2 types, essential and non-essential. Essential because the flower is the reproductive part of the flower of the plant. It is supposed to take direct part in reproduction. So, the parts that take direct part in reproduction are stamens and carpels, that is the 3rd whorl androecium and the 4th whorl gynoecium. These are called essential whorls of the flower or essential parts of the flower. They directly take part in reproduction. The non-essential whorls of the flower are those which help and support in carrying out the reproduction. The non-essential whorls of the flower are sepals and petals, or the corolla, the petals, a whorl of petals called corolla, the whorl of sepals is called calyx. These 2, what is the helping thing they do? They protect the essential whorls of the flower. When the flower is in a bud stage, the sepals and petals are all around it, not allowing anything to disturb the growth and development of these structures. Also, when the flower is fully open, these parts, they help in reproduction by attracting the pollinating agent. Those which are flowers which are pollinated by wind or water, these non-essential whorls, they are still helpful by becoming very small and such that they will allow the pollination to take place by wind or water. So, any which way they are always assisting and therefore correctly called accessory whorls or accessory parts of the flower. So, essential and non-essential whorls. These are the two types of 4 whorls of the flower. Now, these whorls, it is possible, the non-essential whorls, sepals and petals, sometimes they are undifferentiated. They look like each other, means when you look at a flower, you cannot say whether you are looking at the calyx or you are looking at the corolla, because they look alike. A typical example, you know, is of a spider lily. The flower that is often used for garland making, the white flower, that is spider lily. The white that you see, they are not petals, they are perianth. And they are looking like petals and therefore they are called petaloid perianth. Such a perianth where sepals and petals are similar and they look like petals, it's called petaloid perianth. There are other flowers where sepals and petals look alike, it's a perianth, but they look green in color, then you call it sepaloid perianth. So, perianth is a term when sepals and petals look alike. Petaloid perianth is petal-like, sepaloid perianth is sepal-like. Besides the 4 whorls of the flower, often in some flowers we find an additional whorl, an additional leaf-like or a petal-like structure, a sepal or a petal-like structure at the base of the flower. That is called bract. Again, there may be a single bract or there may be a whorl of bract. In flower like bougainvillea that we commonly find around us, the bract is colorful like a petal. So, it is a petaloid bract. There are a number of other flowers that would have their bract which is green in color and then we call it green, sepaloid bract. In addition to this, non-essential whorl means helpful whorl, accessory whorls. There is an additional structure some flowers have, particularly the flowers that attract insect for pollination. Besides the colorful part of the petals, there is one more way the flowers attract insects, particularly bees, is through their nectar. There are cells which secrete nectar and a group of such cells is called nectary. In some flowers, these are just a bunch of cells which are found very close to the ovary of the flower. But in some flowers, the nectary is pretty large. As you can see in the example shown here, you can see the nectary at the base of the flower where the bee is entering in. So, the nectary is an additional part separately seen in some flowers, otherwise it is present in most of the insect pollinated, particularly bee pollinated flowers at the base of the ovary inside the flower, and that is why you find the bee entering the flower deeper in to reach this nectary. The bees go in to get the nectar and in that process they help in pollination. Therefore, nectary is also an accessory part of the flower, of a bisexual flower, of a complete flower. Sexuality in flowers. We said some flowers are incomplete. If they are incomplete by not having one of the non-essential whorl, it is just called an incomplete flower. But an incomplete flower which is not having one of the sexual whorl, means either the androecium or the gynoecium, then it is also called as unisexual flower. Unisexual means it is having only one of the sexual whorl, either the androecium or the gynoecium. If it has the androecium, means it has the stamens. It will have the anther with the filament. The anther contains the pollen grain which produces the male gametes. So, it is a male flower. Then if it is the flower which has the female gamete producing, means only the gynoecium, then it is called the female flower. The anther produces male gamete, the ovary produces the female gamete, the ovule. The stamens and the carpels, they make up the male and the female part of the flower. A hermaphrodite flower is flower which contains both the stamens also and carpels also. The bisexual flower, hermaphrodite flower, perfect flower, complete flowers refers to similar type of structure. What they are emphasizing is what is different, though the word bisexual and hermaphrodite means the same. Unisexual flowers will have only androecium or gynoecium. They obviously are incomplete or imperfect flower. Common example you can find in papaya and palm trees. The male or the staminate flower, that is not having gynoecium but definitely having functional androecium. That means the androecium is present, filament is there, anther is there, and anther produces pollen grains. But it does not have ovary. Even if it does have ovary, the ovary does not contain ovules. It is still called staminate flower. There are a few flowers in the environment where we will find that sterile ovary is present. But the flower is not called complete flower, then it is called staminate or unisexual or male flower only. The female flower similarly is called pistillate flower. The pistillate flower will not have the androecium. It does not have the anther, does not have the filament, does not have the stamen. But it has the calyx, corolla and gynoecium. The pistil is present, that is it has the ovary, it has the stigma, it has the style. Neuter flower. Yes, there are flowers which does not have ability to either produce pollen grain nor does it produce ovule. That means it does not have either androecium or gynoecium. Even if the structure is present, the functional aspect is absent. That is a typical example you can see in sunflower. Everyone knows sunflower the way it is. There are some black in between and there are those yellow petal-like structures outside. The yellow petal-like structure outside are flowers. The inside, those black that we see, are each one of them a complete flower. But those petal-like thing that we see outside, they are ray florets. Those in the center are called disc floret. Those yellow outside are called ray florets. You can see a ray floret separated and shown to you. This ray floret is an incomplete flower in the sense it does not have ovary at all. It does not have ovules, it does not have pollen grain to be produced. But it is also a neuter flower. It is not staminate, it is not pistillate. It is neuter flower because it is not able to produce either pollen grains or ovules. So, ray floret of sunflower is the best example of a neuter flower. In that case, one may ask why it is there. By way of arrangement of the flower the way it is arranged in this disc-like manner. All the complete flowers are in that disc-like manner, the central black disc that you see. On that, when the bees are moving, pollination takes place, which helps in fertilization later on. So, if the flower has to be so small for getting pollinated, it needs something else to attract the insects to come to it. So, colorful ray florets. So, this is a modification that we find in the family of sunflower, the composite inflorescence. Thank you all very, very much.